Hello and welcome to the FATBOSS Guide to Garalon 25-man heroic in the heart of fear.
Hello, yes, this fight, it's very, very similar to normal mode. They actually haven't changed it too much, except it has got a new phase at the end, or kind of a new phase. Kind of the boss acts like it should do it.
Yeah, the boss actually becomes a boss.
Yes, which is good, it's lovely, but we'll cover that in a moment. Now, if you haven't seen our normal mode guide to this fight, then please do go click up on the screen on that annotation now, and that'll take you straight over to it, because we're not going to be covering all the normal mode mechanics, because everything is very, very similar in this fight.
So just go and familiarise yourself with
Yes.
that. Now for this encounter you want to bring 2 tanks, 5 to 6 healers, and mixed DPS. Rogues are still awesome, with all the cleave they can do.
Even after the nerf they had for this fight, it is still very, very good. But it is very important that you do kind of bring both ranged and melee. You do need to bring quite a lot of range though, because of course you need to have that pheromone rotation going on. Now there are a couple of changes to this fight as we said, and we're going to go through them right now. And the first off, the boss doesn't crush when you swap the pheromones as he does on normal mode. Now he just does it periodically.
So he'll just do it whenever the fuck he wants.
Yes, practically. And this does affect how you have to do the pheromones rotation, but we'll cover that in a second. Second off, the pungency debuff, you know, the one that increases the amount of damage pheromones does to, well, everyone, increases the amount of damage it does.
Whenever you have pheromones.
Yeah. It now lasts 6 minutes instead of how like 2 minutes as it lasted on normal mode, and the boss really can only last for 7 minutes, so you can only have pheromones once, and this means you have to have a lot of people in your rotation. Another thing we'll cover in a minute. And of course, we've also said that at 33%, the boss does go into a new phase, which is awesome. It's nice to add a little extra thing on top of a little boss like this.
Now before we sort of go into the last phase, we're going to talk about everything pre-33%.
Yeah, so basically for this you just want to do it exactly the same as normal, switching on roughly 13 pungency stacks with the pheromones. However, as the boss is now just crushing periodically, you may want to do it before or after a crush is coming in, because he is going to crush, right? And you're going to have all this damage coming in from your pungency stacks being quite high at this point. It'll be around 13 and the boss crushes. That means that everyone is going to take a lot of pheromones damage because the pungency debuff is high, as well as a crush, which also does increase damage from normal mode and stuns you still. So what you might want to have to do is that you might want to switch your pheromones just before a crush comes in order that everyone doesn't die during this stun. Now this is something that your healers really want to try and work out in between themselves, because it depends how good your healers are. If your healers think that they can handle it with raid-wide cooldowns and stuff like this, because it will overlap quite frequently.
So if you are going to make it so every time you do switch of 13 stacks, however you are dying when someone is on 13 stacks and the crush comes in at the same time, then your healers either need to pick up the game, or you need to change the person with the pheromones just before a crush does come in, and this is all displayed by timers and everything like that. So
yeah, in this footage, and if you're doing this 13 stack rotation, it'll take you about 13 players as part of the rotation. Now if you, of course, you have 25 players available, but some of them of course are tanks and some of them are melee, and that's not very ideal, so there is room for movement, and as long as you call out and have good communication, there's no reason why you can't have each one of your range members at least take the pheromones. Well, you only really be able to do it once. Maybe if you're one of the first people, you'll be able to do it twice towards the end of the fight. But either way, there's no reason that you can't use all of your members of the raid to do this, and that's all you need to do differently for the first phase. The boss still fixates you, so you just want to keep it going around the outside of the room while the boss chases you, killing those 3 legs. You want to try and leave the front right leg, because it's always in the fucking pheromones and shit like that.
Depending on which way you're kiting it.
Yeah, depending on which way you're kiting it. So it's the same as normal, except you just want to change the pheromones around.
Now once the boss does hit 33%, he'll become damaged and he'll enter his last phase.
Yeah.
In this last phase, he will have an aggro table and will now hit the tanks and will no longer follow the person who does have pheromones. So you can now start dumping the pheromone trial wherever you want. It doesn't matter, as long as it's not in the group and it's not on top of everyone, and yeah, just take it away. Put it wherever you want. Now in this last phase, the boss does hit extremely hard, so it's important that you do call out for external cooldowns as a tank, and you should know when to do that. So when your cooldowns are down, make sure you ask for a cooldown from your healers. You may even want to work out some sort of rotation just to make sure.
But if you do manage to reach this last phase, as long as your healers are good enough and your tanks are good enough, then it's really, really not difficult. It's actually kind of easier. So if you can reach this last phase, it's normally GG, as long as you're not too far behind on the enrage timer and you've got the pheromones sorted out still. What is advisable at this point is maybe saving up some legs towards the end, so you can just quickly kill them all off at once, and maybe going to that front right or front left leg, depending on which way you kite it around, in order to be able to knock the boss very, very quickly down from, I don't know, like 5% down to 2% really, really quickly. and that way you should not really have too many problems with this fight. It's quite easy in comparison to some of the other fights in this tier, so there shouldn't be too much problems, really.
So thanks for watching this guide. If this guide did help you out, then please do drop us a like, it helps us out a lot, and make sure to comment, rate and subscribe.
And if you'd like to see any of our other 25-man heroic guides, then please do click up on the screen now, and that'll take you straight over to them via YouTube annotation.
Thanks for watching.
Thank you.